WINS, WINS-FM and HD1 New York. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
More people get their news from 1010 Wins and from any other radio station in the nation. Walter Geis, editor's desk. I'm Mario Bosquez.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM, New York.
48 degrees and right on time. As predicted, light rain is beginning to fall at 12 midnight on this Friday, December 19th. I'm Lane Bajardi. Here's what's happening. Big wind and rain ahead overnight and tomorrow morning. Details from AccuWeather on the way. Police say the Brown University mass shooter has been found dead in a New Hampshire storage facility. He's also being connected to the murder of an MIT professor. 3 juveniles, ages 12, 13, and 15, stabbed in 2 separate incidents in Brooklyn and Queens. The Trump-appointed board of the Kennedy Center for the Arts just voted to rename the building the Trump Kennedy Center. And a rare duck that attracted bird watchers from around the world has been shot and killed on Long Island. Sports, Knicks win, Nets lose, Rangers win in overtime. AccuWeather details in a minute. Wins News Time 12:01. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Kelly Dillon.
A crash now on the northbound FDR Drive. The southbound FDR Drive. This is in Midtown into the 30s. Knocks out a lane, so bumper-to-bumper delays. Backing up, the west side is going to be better. A new accident on the westbound cross Bronx reported now into Rosedale Ave. And another into 3rd Ave. Then a broken down truck is at the Deegan knocking out the right lane. So Cross Bronx really starting to back up on the westbound side. Here's what we see on Long Island's Big 3. In Nassau County, we're looking okay on the LIE and no trouble to report along the northern or southern states. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. A mess at the Verrazano. Both ways, the upper decks closed for construction. Lower levels are open, but at a standstill. Either way, especially in the Staten Island. Very busy on the outer bridge crossing into Jersey with right lane construction. The Goethals is moving better. Picking up now at the Queens Midtown Tunnel both ways as construction work sets up. That's getting slow. And the Queens-bound Queensboro Bridge upper and lower levels also getting a bit crowded. Kelly Dillon, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
Strong wind and heavy rain ahead overnight. Details from AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Well, it certainly doesn't feel much like December early this morning. Temperatures running mostly in the 50s across the area, and it is going to be turning out warmer as we head through the morning hours. Temperatures may even reach the upper 50s in some spots with some of this rain moving through. Some of the rain will be heavy, especially through the morning and midday hours today. That could lead to some ponding on roadways, causing some travel delays, and the wind is the other part of the story. Winds will be gusting to 50 miles per hour at times, really throughout the day today before the wind eases up a little bit later on tonight.
Lock it into 1010 Wins for what will likely be a challenging Friday morning commute. Officials say the manhunt for the suspected Brown University mass shooter is over.
Tonight, our Providence neighbors can finally breathe a little easier.
After several days of appealing to the public for help, officials say the man being sought as a suspect in the Brown University shooting is dead inside a Salem, New Hampshire storage unit.
It was actually a video that provided us with a description of the vehicle.
Officials now say they're looking into a connection between the shooting and the killing of a Massachusetts Institute of Technology professor 2 days later. Nuno Loureiro was fatally shot in his apartment in the Boston suburb of Brookline.
Correspondent Bradley Blackburn, the suspect identified as 48-year-old Claudio Neves Valente, who was a student at Brown 25 years ago. Valente, a Portuguese national, believed to have acted alone, and may have also gone to school with a professor from MIT who was shot and killed. Further information expected to come later today. Multiple stabbings involving children in Brooklyn and Queens. A 12-year-old boy recovering from stab wounds after an incident at a Brownsville park. The child rushed to the hospital in critical but stable condition. A knife found at the scene of the crime at Betsy Head Park. 2 hours later in Ridgewood, Queens, police responded to a double stabbing in Seneca Avenue and Palmetto Street. 13-year-old stabbed in the chest, 15-year-old in the back. Both said to be in stable condition. No arrests made or charges filed. New York Catholics heard from the next Archbishop of one of the most important archdioceses in the nation. Bishop Ronald Hicks currently leads the Diocese of Joliet, Illinois, home state of Pope Leo.
Meet the incoming Archbishop of New York.
My name is Ron Hicks.
Simply put,
Ronald Hicks, by way of Chicago, succeeds Timothy Cardinal Dolan in the months to come. He leaned into his experiences serving in Mexico and Central America.
I speak Spanish, but it's more than that. I was really formed by the Latino church, and I have a great heart for the Latino community.
And he says he's eager to embrace the diversity that is New York. Juliette Papa, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
An attempt to make it easier for city homeowners to rent out their homes on Airbnb rejected by a council committee.
Opponents of the legislation say loosening restrictions on short-term Airbnb-type rentals would have worsened the housing crisis. Legal aid attorney Robert Desir.
There was no distinction between units in a two-family home, so that one of the units could be permanently reserved as a short-term rental.
Which would mean fewer long-term rentals. Council member Mercedes Narcisse, who sponsored the bill, is worried for small homeowners.
It's very difficult in New York City. They cannot pay their mortgages. They go into foreclosure. Some of them end up in lien sales, and so many things going around us.
Mac Rosenberg, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
One of the first things President Trump did when he returned to office was to fire the board of the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts. He then installed new members who named him the new chair in a highly unusual move. Now the White House says that board has voted to rename it. It is now to be known as the Trump Kennedy Center. Critics say the move is likely illegal and that only Congress can act to rename the institution.
Democrats are furious over the move, which the White House described as a unanimous decision of the board. Ohio Democrat Joyce Beatty is among the members of the House who, by law, is a Kennedy Center trustee.
I said I have something to say, and I was muted. And as I continued to try to unmute to ask questions and voice my opposition to this, I received a note saying that I would not be unmuted.
In 1983, Congress voted to prohibit additional memorials at the Kennedy Center. By law, it's D.C.'s only monument to JFK. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Former NASCAR driver Greg Biffle and members of his family have died in a plane crash.
North Carolina State Patrol Sergeant Chris Knox says a former NASCAR driver was among those on the plane.
It is believed of those 7 occupants that Mr. Greg Biffle, 55 years old, and his immediate family were on board the aircraft.
He says they can't put out a definitive list of occupants yet, though,
because of the post-crash fire.
The plane was returning to the airport when it crashed. In a statement, NASCAR says it's devastated by the tragic loss.
Correspondent Stacy Lynn. Greg Biffle won more than 50 races across NASCAR's 3 circuits, a well-known name in auto racing, including the 2000 Truck Series Championship and the Xfinity Series title in 2002. It's believed his wife and 2 young children were on board with him on that plane. 48 degrees. We have light rain falling. Temperatures rising overnight to 55 in Midtown. A popular music venue in Brooklyn is being forced to shut down at the end of next year. We'll tell you about that, but first, Wins News Time 12:11. Let's get you where you need to go with Jeff Jensen.
Yeah, Jam trying to get out of the city this morning, Lane. Heavy go at the GWB. The lower level is closed on the outbound side. I'm looking at the upper level now, and the upper level's fine, but it's especially busy coming off the crossbar. It's got about a 20-minute ride to the upper level of the George. Inbound, both levels are open, so there's no troubles there. If you're traveling at the Lincoln Tunnel, you've got a delay out of the city. Hey, it's a holiday party time, so these Thursday nights can be busy. About a 40-minute wait to get out of town at the Lincoln Tunnel, half an hour out at the Holland Tunnel, and a pretty busy go trying to get to the Verrazano. They've got construction. Which level is closed this morning? You spin the wheel and you find out, and I believe, let me double check here, they've got the upper level shut again both ways this morning. That's the delay for you, waiting for you at the Verrazano-Narrows Bridge. In Manhattan on the FDR Drive, jam southbound from 34th down to 14th. That is overnight construction work going on there. You might want to try 2nd Avenue to head downtown or the west side instead. Jeff Jensen, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Now the AccuWeather 4-day forecast from meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Rather cloudy early this morning, increasingly windy with some rain at times. Temperatures ending up around 55 by daybreak. A wind advisory is in effect through midnight Friday night. As we head through the day today, it's going to be very windy and warmer with periods of rain through about midday, some of it heavy. And we could have some ponding on roadways, causing a slow morning commute. Now the rain will taper to a shower in the afternoon as clouds break for a little bit of sunshine. But the wind will stay gusty through the afternoon. High 57, then temps fall into the 40s. Turning out mostly clear, blustery, and much colder, a low near 30. And a colder day Saturday. Sun will be followed by clouds, a high of 38. More sun than clouds Sunday, windy and not as cold with a high of 48. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson on New York's weather station. 1010 winds on 92.3 FM.
48 degrees with light rain. Temperatures rising overnight to 55 in Midtown. They've lost their lease. The Music Hall of Williamsburg has been informed by the landlord they'll have to vacate the building in 12 months.
The venue's owners of Bowery Presents confirmed the Music Hall of Williamsburg will lose its lease at the end of next year.
It's really sad because the landlords maybe don't understand what these guys brought.
Kendrick Lamar, Ed Sheeran, Harry Styles, and Brandi Carlile are just some of the superstar artists whose careers began at the Music Hall. Patrick Del Punto's restaurant down the block has become a de facto office for the artists' entourages.
It's like we're spoiled here and we take things for granted. It's a great venue.
And he's hoping someone will come in to save it. Marla Diamond, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in Williamsburg.
A sad day for bird watchers. People were apparently coming in from near and far to see a rare mandarin duck on Long Island. So they tell us. Now an animal rescuer says there's no reason to show up because someone shot and killed the bird.
Humane Long Island's John DiLeonardo says you can see the photos of the dead mandarin duck on social media. He says the duck was someone's pet that was abandoned and seen on a pond in Stony Brook until it was killed by a hunter.
This was a completely avoidable tragedy where he was shot and killed because his location was revealed.
He says the owner should come forward.
When someone abandons a domestic duck to the wild, they have tiny wings, they lack camouflage. In the case of the mandarin, he stuck out like a sore thumb.
The duck is native to Eastern Asia, and people from other states were coming to Stony Brook to see the duck. Sophia Hall, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM on Long Island.
Careful who you swipe on, or swipe off, or swipe left, or swipe right, or whatever it is. I'm a married man. I have no idea. Anyway, a relationship that started on an app ended in an ugly and expensive crime in Manhattan. Swipe away.
A Bumble match and then long-term relationship has turned sour. Over $270,000 gone after the victim's then-boyfriend said he was using the money to buy a home. All of that a lie, which is what Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg has uncovered.
The indictment is Brandon King for what we would also describe as a romance scam that is troubling in and of itself. He was prior to my term. He was sentenced to a term of imprisonment. He's doing it again is profoundly disturbing.
He says Keem created a web of lies, saying he placed an auction on a Brooklyn home in 2020 and kept asking his girlfriend to give more money so they wouldn't be outbid. Mary Lynn Buckley, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in Lower Manhattan.
President Trump signed an executive order reclassifying marijuana as a less dangerous but still federally illegal drug.
We have people begging for me to do this, people that are in great pain.
Cannabis is currently classified as a Schedule I drug, the most restrictive category that includes heroin and LSD. With this change, it moves to a Schedule III drug, the same group as common prescription painkillers like Tylenol with codeine. The White House says this change will make it easier for scientists to study marijuana and its potential to treat chronic pain and other conditions.
In no way sanctions its use as a recreational drug. It has nothing to do with it.
Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
A Kremlin envoy will meet with Trump administration officials in Florida this weekend.
The official says Kirill Dmitriev will meet with Trump administration envoys in Miami. That comes after Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner sat down with Ukrainian and European officials this week. Russian leader Vladimir Putin has warned Moscow would seek to extend its gains in Ukraine if Kyiv and its Western allies reject the Kremlin's demands in peace talks.
Putin doesn't want to stop this war, but he can if United States will pressure more.
In Brussels for a summit with European leaders, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's counting on that pressure. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
A popular singer gets a pardon for his crimes.
Country musician Jelly Roll, legal name Jason DeFord, was among 33 people to receive a pardon, acknowledging the award-winning Nashville native's long road back from drugs and prison. The musician had backing from civic leaders like the sheriff of Davidson County and the CEO of Live Nation. He received a non-binding recommendation from the state parole board back in April when he talked about how a pardon would make it easier for him to travel and share his message.
Every time I travel, it takes a team of lawyers and a mountain of paperwork to secure my entry into those
those countries.
After arrests for aggravated robbery and drug dealing when he was younger, Jelly Roll now often visits jails and rehabilitation centers to talk about second chances and has even testified before Congress. I'm Jennifer King.
From the Gold Coast on the North Shore to Fire Island on the South, we are Long Island's all-news station.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
48 degrees, light rain at 12:20 on this Friday, December 19th. I'm Lane Bajardi. Here's what's happening. Heavy rain and strong wind ahead. AccuWeather with the details on the way. Police say the Brown University mass shooter has been found dead in a New Hampshire storage facility and is now also being connected to the murder of an MIT professor. Mayor-elect Mamdani announces another key choice for his new administration. New York Catholics heard from their next archbishop coming to Manhattan from Joliet, Illinois. The New York City Council moving on a pile of long-debated bills that'll make life easier for street vendors to get permits. Knicks win, Nets lose, Rangers win in overtime. AccuWeather details in a minute. Wins News Time, 12:21. Let's get you where you need to go with Jeff Jensen.
Quite the slow ride trying to cross some of the bodies of water around here. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Jam trying to get to the Verrazano of the outbound Gowanus Expressway. Back up to Fort Hamilton Parkway, the upper level closed this morning going to Staten Island and working on the outer bridge going to Jersey. So the Goethals is better. Half an hour out of town at least at the Lincoln. Holland Tunnel about 15 minutes each way, and we've got a delay going to New Jersey at the GWB. There's a broken down vehicle as you get onto the upper level, but everybody's on the upper level. Everybody's on the upper because the lower is closed. Cross Bronx is backed up, almost back to 3rd Avenue with some road work in the mix there, too. The East River crossings, where you want to avoid the Throgs near Queens, looks like there's a crash there, so the Whitestone is better. In Queens, heavy traffic this morning on the Van Wicked southbound work this morning. You're jammed from Queens Boulevard down to Atlantic Avenue, and here's what we see on Long Island's Big Three. Wet roads from the snowmelt, but otherwise we are quiet on the LIE Northern and Southern State Parkways on this, finally Friday morning. Jeff Jensen, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Finally Friday, and we're getting some rain in December. Strong wind and heavy rain ahead later tonight, early in the morning. Details from AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson.
We have no snow to worry about this time around, but we do have a lot of rain and wind to keep an eye on here as we head through the day today. Early this morning, we're having some rain that's going to be moving on through from time to time. Temperatures will be mostly in the 50s, and the wind is going to be picking up too. Wind advisories in effect through midnight Friday night, as winds could gust to 50 miles per hour, perhaps even a little bit higher than that as we head through the day today. And we'll have some heavy pockets of rain through the morning and midday hours. That could lead to some ponding on roadways. The rain will taper off into the afternoon, but the wind is going to stay gusty through the afternoon, and it will stay blustery even into later tonight.
So for now, it's the calm before the storm. Lock it into 10-10 Winds for what will likely be a challenging Friday morning commute. Officials say the manhunt for the suspected Brown University mass shooter is over. He's dead. The suspect identified as 48-year-old Claudio Neves Valente, who they tell us was a student at Brown 25 years ago. A Portuguese national believed to have acted alone. Also a Portuguese national, that MIT professor who was killed just after, a day after or so, the mass shooting over the weekend. They tell us Valente was cornered and found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound in a New Hampshire storage facility. Providence Mayor Brett Smiley says his police officers were the ones that tracked him down.
It was because of the information provided to us by neighbors and the tireless work of our Providence Police Department, the Rhode Island State Police, the FBI, the ATF, and many other federal partners. We all worked well together to be able to identify this suspect.
And investigators believe Valente is responsible for both the shootings at Brown and the killing of that MIT professor. The new appointments chief for Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani has resigned after anti-Jewish posts from long ago came to light on her X account, posts she made about 10 years or so ago, and she was 19 and 20 years old. Catherine Almonte da Costa apologizing, saying in part, as the mother of Jewish children today, she feels a profound sense of sadness and remorse at the harm her words have caused. As this has become a distraction from the work at hand, she's offered her resignation. Mamdani, meanwhile, has tapped a City Hall veteran to be his budget director.
Sharif Suleiman is well-versed in how the city's money is spent, having recently worked for both Mayors Adams and de Blasio.
And as the senior vice chancellor and chief financial officer at CUNY for the past 2 years,
He has managed a multi-billion-dollar budget, reduced the structural deficit by nearly 80% in 2 years.
Suleiman will have to grapple with a budget deficit as he tries to fund Mamdani's ambitious and expensive affordability agenda.
To be sure, we will need help to get there.
President Trump had a cordial meeting with the mayor-elect, but has threatened to cut federal funding to sanctuary cities. Marla Diamond, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in Queens.
Andrew Dykes back on Long Island to face the accusation that he killed a young mother he impregnated in 1997 and dumped her body near Gilgo Beach.
Tanya was the victim of a vile act of violence.
Nassau County DA Ann Donnelly says Tanya Jackson was known for nearly 30 years as Peaches because of her tattoo, her dismembered and decapitated body, along with their 2-year-old daughter's remains found on Long Island. The DA says after she was identified, Andrew Dykes, the father of Jackson's child, was arrested, accused of killing the 26-year-old.
The lives that they lived abruptly stopped.
Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder says the motive, Dykes was married and did not want to admit he fathered a child with Jackson.
He threw a baby out like the trash and he cut the other body up.
The DA says DNA links him to the crime. Sophia Hall, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM on Long Island.
48 degrees, light rain is falling, heavier rain is on the way with temperatures rising overnight to 55 in Midtown. Now, Bloomberg Money Watch.
Careful consumer spending has been a boon to the cruise industry as bookings on vacation, seen as offering a strong bang for the buck, have risen. Revenue for the biggest name in cruising, Carnival, likely rose 7% in the latest quarter. We find out when Carnival reports earnings today. Those reports make an interesting juxtaposition with the latest on U.S. consumer sentiment. The University of Michigan's final sentiment reading of the year could show a slight increase from the early December report following the Fed Reserve's cut to interest rates. I'm Andrew O'Day, Bloomberg Money Watch, 1010 wins at 92.3 FM.
1010 wins.
I love that they're always there, 24 hours a day.
It's my trusted news source.
It's not New York without them.
1010 wins. All news, all the time.
On 92.3 FM.
The light rain beginning to fall. The heavy rain is ahead. 48 degrees. Your full AccuWeather 4-day forecast on the way in 2 minutes. I'm Lane Gajardi. Wins News Time, 12:30.
Good morning. I'm Mario Bosques. A bilingual address by the incoming leader of the Archdiocese of New York who may need conversion. Well, when it comes to baseball teams anyway.
Ron Hicks says he's visited New York 10 times before and was always eager to return.
I love the culture, the food, the energy.
Now he's here to lead the New York Archdiocese. He's from Illinois and lived and worked for many years in Chicago, like Pope Leo, but only met him a year ago.
I found him to be extremely relatable, and I do also like the fact that we grew up in the same area. We would have played baseball in the same parks.
The Pope is a White Sox fan. Hicks roots for the Cubs, but he says he'll get to know the New York teams. Julia Papa, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Formal installation at St. Patrick's the 6th of February. Wins News Time 12:31 is get you where you need to go through the rain. Here's Jeff Jensen.
Yeah, through the rain and a tough ride trying to get out of the city. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Yeah, it's holiday party time, so these Thursday nights can be quite tough. 45-minute ride to get out of town, at least at the Lincoln Tunnel. The Holland is better, 15 minutes each way. The GWB, about a half an hour off the Cross Bronx to get to the upper level. Lower level is closed. All the approaches are tough. The Deegan, the Harlem River Drive, and the West Side. You had an accident on the westbound side of the Cross Bronx over by Castle Hill Avenue. Heavy delays in Brooklyn with the road work, eastbound construction and westbound, actually, both ways over near the Brooklyn Bridge, quite slow. And then you've got the slow going eastbound BQE headed up toward the Kosciuszko Bridge with construction there. Outbound Gowanus Jam approaching the Verrazano. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels at the Verrazano. Upper level shut, that's why it's so busy. The GWB jammed to New Jersey because the lower level's closed. Jeff Jensen, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Now let's get a check of the AccuWeather forecast with meteorologist Brian Thompson.
A wind advisory remains in effect through midnight Friday night, so it will be increasingly windy through the early morning hours with a good deal of clouds. We'll have some rain at times as temperatures rise to around 55 by daybreak. Now, the strongest winds will likely be through the day today. We could see some gusts of 50 miles per hour, perhaps even a little bit higher than that along the coast. And then we'll be pretty rainy through the morning and even into the midday hours. Some heavier pockets of rain could lead to some ponding on streets and highways. Then the rain will taper to a shower shower in the afternoon as clouds try to break for some sun. A high of 57 this morning. Temperatures fall into the mid-40s late, then down to 30 later tonight as it clears out. And a dry weekend on the way with some sun. High 38 Saturday, 48 Sunday. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson on New York's weather station. 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM.
Looks like life's going to get better for street vendors with some changes from council.
Many street vendors have worked for decades without the proper permits, and many fear law enforcement. Vendor Vicente Ventimiglia hopes the package of bills will cement street vendors in society.
This generation of street vendors commits to respecting the city's regulations and ordinances, to train ourselves to become more efficient, and to continue contributing to the social and economic development of our city.
Highlights of the legislation include raising the cap on licenses, making the process to get one quicker, and creating a new division of street vendor assistants to train them. Mac Rosenberg, 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM.
Federal regulators ordering Instacart to pay $60 million in refunds to customers to settle allegations the company used deceptive practices to raise costs for shoppers.
The Federal Trade Commission says Instacart falsely advertised free delivery, yet consumers were still charged a service fee for deliveries, and that while Instagram promised a guarantee of 100% satisfaction.